Imagine flying higher than anyone since the Apollo missions, doing the first ever commercial spacewalk, and pushing the limits of what we can do in space. This isn't make-believe, it's the Polaris Dawn mission, the first of 3 amazing trips in the Polaris program. Polaris Dawn took off on September 10, 2024, and it's a big deal for space travel and science. In the next few minutes, we'll look at what this mission wants to do, the challenges it faces, and how it could change the way we explore space. Get ready to learn about new technology, daring experiments, and the brave crew on this historic journey that's changing what we know about human spaceflight. The Polaris program. The Polaris program is a big step forward in space travel that regular people can pay for. A billionaire named Jared Isaacman is paying for it, and he's working with SpaceX to make it happen. They plan to do 3 missions that will do things no one has done before in space. They want to test new spacesuits, go higher than people usually go in orbit, and get ready for long trips to the Moon and Mars in the future. The Polaris program is all about working together and coming up with new ideas. They're mixing the quick thinking and money of private companies with the know-how of space agencies like NASA. This team-up could help make new space technology faster and figure out better ways to keep people safe in space for a long time. Polaris Dawn, the first mission, is like the first step on a staircase. It will do things that will help the missions that come after it. These include doing a spacewalk that isn't run by a government, testing a new way to talk to satellites, and doing a bunch of science experiments to learn about how space affects our health. One of the coolest things about the Polaris program is that it might make it easier for more people to go to space. By testing new technology and ways of doing things, they could make space travel cheaper and less complicated. This could mean that more people and companies might be able to do things in space in the future. Goals and new records. Polaris Dawn, the first mission in the Polaris program, wants to do several things that have never been done before. These will help us do more in space exploration. Let's look at the main things they want to do. First, Polaris Dawn wants to go higher than any crewed spacecraft has ever gone. They plan to reach 1,400 kilometers, which is 870 miles above Earth. This is higher than the previous record set by Gemini 11 in 1966, which went up to 1,368 kilometers. By going this high, the mission will pass through an area with more radiation called the Van Allen Belt. This will help us learn how radiation affects people and spacecraft, which is important for future long trips in space. The most exciting thing Polaris Dawn will do is the first commercial spacewalk. This means someone will leave the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft and float in space wearing a new spacesuit made by SpaceX. This will show that the new suit works and help figure out how to do other jobs in space in the future, like building or fixing things. The mission will also test a new way of talking to satellites. They'll try to use lasers to communicate between the Dragon spacecraft and Starlink satellites. If this works, it could change how we send information in space, making it faster and more reliable for future trips to the Moon and Mars. Polaris Dawn isn't just about setting records, they'll also do 38 different science experiments. These will look at things like how zero gravity affects our health, how space radiation affects living things, and test new medical tools. What they learn could help not just future space explorers, but also improve healthcare on Earth. The crew. The success of Polaris Dawn depends on its 4 crew members. Each person brings special skills and experience to the team, making them perfect for this challenging mission. Jared Isaacman is the commander, has been to space before, leading the Inspiration 4 mission in 2021. He's an experienced pilot with over 7,000 hours of flying time in different aircraft. Isaacman is also the person funding the Polaris program because he wants to help advance space exploration. Scott Kidd Poteet is the mission pilot. He used to be in the US Air Force for 20 years and has a lot of experience flying different kinds of aircraft. He has flown for over 3,200 hours, including in combat situations. His skills will be very important, especially when the mission goes to very high altitudes. Sarah Gillis is one of 2 mission specialists. She works at SpaceX, where she's in charge of training astronauts. She knows a lot about how the Dragon spacecraft works and how to run space missions. Her experience talking to astronauts during other missions will be very helpful during this flight. Anna Menon is the other mission specialist and the medical officer. She also works at SpaceX and knows a lot about how to run space missions. She used to work for NASA, monitoring astronauts' health during missions. This experience will be crucial for taking care of the crew and running the health experiments during Polaris Dawn. This diverse crew, with their different backgrounds in space travel, military flying, and SpaceX systems, is well prepared for the unique challenges of Polaris Dawn. They show how space exploration is changing, with private companies now playing a big role alongside government space agencies. Science experiments. Polaris Dawn isn't just about setting records, it's also like a flying laboratory. They'll be doing important scientific research that could help both space exploration and life on Earth. They have plans for 38 different experiments in various areas of science. One main focus is understanding how space affects human health. They'll study something called Spaceflight-Associated Neuroocular Syndrome, SANS, which affects astronauts' eyes during long space trips. By learning more about this, they hope to find ways to protect astronauts on future missions to the Moon and Mars. The crew will also use ultrasound to look for tiny gas bubbles in their blood. This could help us understand the risks of decompression sickness in space. This research could be useful not just for spacewalks, but also for deep-sea diving on Earth. Another important area of study is how space radiation affects the human body. Because Polaris Dawn will go to higher altitudes where there is more radiation, they'll be able to gather unique data on how our bodies react to this increased radiation. This information is crucial for planning longer missions beyond Earth's protective magnetic field. The mission will also contribute to a project called Biobank by providing biological samples for detailed analysis. This could help us understand how space travel affects the human body at a molecular level, potentially leading to new treatments for health issues both in space and on Earth. Polaris Dawn will also test several new technologies. The spacewalk will not only test the new SpaceX spacesuit, but also new tools and procedures for working in the vacuum of space. This could help with more complex tasks in future space missions, like repairing satellites or building structures in orbit. They'll also test a new way of communicating using lasers between the spacecraft and satellites. If successful, this could revolutionize how we send information in space, potentially making it faster and more reliable over long distances. This technology could be very important for future missions to distant places in space. Additionally, the mission will test how the Dragon spacecraft performs at higher altitudes than ever before. This information will be crucial for designing future spacecraft meant for missions beyond low Earth orbit. Challenges and future impact. While Polaris Dawn aims to achieve amazing things, it also faces big challenges that show how complex it is to push the boundaries of human spaceflight. One of the main concerns is the increased radiation exposure at higher altitudes. When the mission goes into the lower Van Allen radiation belt, the crew will be exposed to levels of cosmic radiation not usually encountered in low Earth orbit. This presents risks to their health, both immediately and in the long term, which the mission aims to study. The first commercial spacewalk, while a historic achievement, comes with its own set of challenges. The new SpaceX spacesuit must work perfectly in the harsh environment of space. It needs to protect the astronaut from extreme temperatures, tiny space debris, and radiation while still allowing them to move around and do tasks. If this spacewalk is successful, it could open up new possibilities for building and repairing things in space, and even for space tourism in the future. There are also technical challenges, especially with communications. Testing the laser-based communication system between the spacecraft and satellites is ambitious. If it works, it could revolutionize how we send data in space. However, keeping these laser links connected between a moving spacecraft and orbiting satellites is very difficult and will require overcoming significant technical hurdles. The mission's extensive scientific program, while promising, also presents logistical challenges. Conducting 38 experiments in the small space of the Dragon capsule, while also focusing on others' mission goals, requires very careful planning and execution. The crew must be ready to handle any unexpected problems that might come up with the experimental equipment or procedures. Looking to the future, the success of the Polaris Dawn could have far-reaching effects on commercial space exploration. By showing that private missions can push the boundaries of human spaceflight, it could encourage more investment and innovation in the commercial space sector. This could speed up the development of technologies and capabilities needed for humans to stay in space for long periods, including future missions to the Moon and Mars. Moreover, the scientific knowledge gained from this mission could inform future space exploration strategies, particularly in terms of radiation protection, managing health during long space flights, and designing spacesuits. The insights gained could be crucial for planning safer and more effective missions deeper into space. The Polaris Dawn mission and the broader Polaris program represent a significant step forward in the changing landscape of space exploration. By combining the flexibility and innovation of private companies with the expertise and resources of established space agencies, these initiatives are charting a new course for humanity's journey beyond Earth. As we watch this mission unfold, we're not just seeing a spaceflight, we're watching the future of space exploration take shape right before our eyes. That's all for today's video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more updates on groundbreaking space missions and cutting-edge scientific discoveries. Until next time, stay tuned.